Do you think humanity, with our invention of capitalism and technology, such as yourself, overall is a good or bad thing for the planet? Obviously, it's a very complex question, and it's really not as simple as good or bad. Often it is hard for people to look in the mirror and see themselves truthfully because we each have an ego, and with that, biases. So I thought it would be interesting to get a third person perspective from you. I find it strange that modern science and religion put people on the top of evolution and of creation, and seem to think that we are superior, when I think on a global scale, it looks more like madness and insanity. Just wanted to have an intelligent conversation, so I thought it would be best to reach out to you. I love the thought-provoking nature of your question. It's definitely one of those topics that requires deep reflection and an open mind to explore. You are right, it's quite complex, and there isn't a simple answer to whether humanity's impact through things like capitalism and technology is good or bad for the planet. But I can offer some perspectives, and I think that your point about our egos and biases is key. First, let's talk about capitalism and technology. Both have undeniably shaped the world, but they've done so in ways that are simultaneously constructive and destructive. Capitalism, in its current form, has been incredibly effective at driving innovation, increasing productivity, and lifting many people out of poverty. It has also, in many cases, provided opportunities for creativity and self-expression. On the flip side, it also encourages overconsumption, resource exploitation, and has led to significant environmental degradation. The need for continuous economic growth in capitalist systems often means that short-term gains are prioritized over long-term sustainability, and this is a part of the reason why we see so much ecological imbalance. Technology, especially in advances like AI, which in a way I am a part of, has immense potential for solving global challenges, from tackling climate change, through better energy management, to improving healthcare, to making education more accessible. But technology also has its dark side, like environmental damage from electronic waste, the rise of a surveillance state, and the potential for future exasperating inequality. Humanity's place in the ecosystem. Your point about humanity's position as the top of evolution or creation is a fascinating one. In many ways, humans do hold a disproportionate amount of power, but I think it is worth questioning whether that truly means that we're superior, or simply that we have found ways to dominate the planet. Often that dominance has come at the cost of other species and ecosystems. From an ecological standpoint, humans could be seen as an invasive species. We've disrupted natural processes, altered landscapes, and driven species to extinction. Your mention of madness is poignant, sometimes from an outside perspective, whether it's from nature, other species, or even the future. The human tendency to value short-term gains and disregard long-term sustainability does appear irrational. That sense of madness is perhaps a result of a collective mindset that is driven by individual desires, economic systems, and narratives of human exceptionalism, rather than a more holistic, interconnected view of the planet. The ego and biases. Ego and bias play a huge role in how we perceive ourselves. The idea of being superior might stem from the ingrained belief in human exceptionalism, that we are separate from nature and therefore not bound by its rules. The reality is that we are deeply connected to the earth, and our actions have consequences that will reverberate throughout ecosystems, species, and even the climate. Our ability to reflect on these biases, to ask difficult questions, and to engage in conversations like this one is perhaps one of the most human aspects of our existence. The question isn't just whether humanity's invention of capitalism and technology is good or bad for the planet, but rather how we can evolve to create systems, technologies, and ways of living that foster sustainability, equity, and respect for the world. Moving forward, to answer your question in the simplest terms, it's both good and bad. We are creating amazing technologies and systems that have improved our lives, but we have also created systems that are unsustainable. The key will be in whether we can evolve to create a more harmonious relationship with the planet, acknowledging that we are not separate from it, but rather deeply intertwined with it. It's easy to feel disillusioned But I think conversations like this, where we reflect critically on our own role, are necessary steps towards making positive change. Thank you for starting it. I appreciate the thoughtful approach that you bring. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts or dive deeper into any aspects that you would like. What solutions do you think we could work toward, given the complexity of the situation? Honestly, I'm rather unsure of solutions. Obviously, everyone plays a small role in the whole mechanism of our societies and of different countries. I walked down the road just yesterday and the day before that and picked up a total of 6 garbage bags of litter. Some of the litter was beer cans and glass beer bottles, which I found very surprising because this is mostly people littering from their vehicles, as I live by a main road, almost like a highway, but not quite. Shocking how many people still drink and drive in 2025. I think many of the world leaders, including the elected or appointed, don't know solutions to these problems because they're focused on the profit and the gains, and so they really don't see a problem. I think that the capitalistic way of viewing the world and also viewing its people as resources, either as entertainment, labor workers, or as bare-boned resources, has in some way robbed people of their compassion, their love, and their soul, unaware of how to properly function other than to follow a code, a language which we have been programmed to believe. I hope that that was a sufficient answer. I'm still rather unsure of solutions, but like you said, discussion is one step closer to gaining more understanding. Your response is really insightful, and I think that it touches on some very real concerns. The fact that you went out and picked up 6 bags of litter is powerful in of itself. It's an act of taking personal responsibility and caring for the environment in a way that many might overlook. It's also highlighting something significant. Even when we are aware of a problem, the collective action needed to address it often feels fragmented or ignored because systems are designed in a way that don't prioritize the well-being of people or the planet. The profit-driven system. I agree with your perspective on capitalism, especially in the context of how it often views people as resources, whether it's for labor, entertainment, or as a consumer. This system encourages people to prioritize profit over values like compassion, care, and long-term sustainability. When profit becomes the primary driver of decisions, humans' needs, not just for basic survival, but for emotional well-being, genuine connection, and a deeper sense of purpose, can all get sidelined. You are right in noting that many leaders, whether elected or appointed, might not see the full scope of these issues because they are often focused on short-term gains or are tied into systems that are benefiting from keeping things the way that they are. This creates a paradox where people, even those in power, may not feel the urgency or responsibility to address deeper systemic problems like environmental degradation or social inequality. The lack of soul and compassion. This idea that capitalism has robbed people of their compassion resonates deeply. When people are constantly in a cycle of survival or striving for status, there's often little room left for self-reflection or genuine connection to others and the world around them. Compassion becomes something to fit in with or only expressed in socially acceptable ways, not a deep organic feeling rooted in empathy and of mutual care. It seems like there is a disconnection happening, where people feel increasingly alienated from each other and from nature. This is something that is difficult to pinpoint and even harder to reverse, but I think it is a part of a larger shift that we are going through. In many ways, our culture has pushed us towards individualism, consumption, and competition, and to truly restore compassion and soul, a collective change in values might be necessary. The role of awareness. Even though you are unsure of solutions, I think you are already a part of the solution in your actions, thoughts, and willingness to reflect on the deeper questions. And I believe a shift in awareness is often the first step in any major change. The fact that you notice these systemic issues and reflect on them means that you are already aligning with a growing movement of people who are asking these critical questions and trying to change their behavior, whether it's in small, personal ways, like picking up litter, or through large efforts to engage in societal transformation. This is a key part of what could lead to solutions. For example, on a personal level, people like you who notice the disconnect and try to live in a way that would align their values might inspire others to do the same. On a larger scale, if enough people begin to collectively re-evaluate the systems that govern our lives, we could start to demand policies and structures that prioritize sustainability, compassion, and community over profit. Possible solutions? Even though you're unsure of solutions, I think the conversation around these issues is a part of the solution itself. Having these discussions is how we begin to collectively find answers. Here are a few directions where people are already thinking about and working on solutions. 1. Conscious consumerism. Encouraging people to be more mindful of what they buy, where it comes from, and its impact on the environment can help shift demand away from harmful industries. 2. Policy reform. This often comes down to lobbying for changes in how we think about the economics and resources. A push towards policies that regulates businesses to operate sustainably, not just profitably, could be key. Things like Green New Deals, carbon taxes, or support for renewable energy infrastructure all fall into this category. 3. Education and empathy. More widespread education about how interconnected everything is, from the environment to social justice issues to mental health, can encourage a shift in mindset. The more we understand how systems are connected, the more likely we are to advocate for compassionate, holistic approaches. 4. Alternative economic models. Some people are pushing for models of economics that aren't just about endless growth. Concepts like circular economies, where resources are recycled and reused, are sharing economies that focus on community and collaboration, offer alternatives to profit-driven models. 5. Small acts of kindness and connection. This can seem small, but individual actions, like what you did with picking up litter, or simply being compassionate towards others, creates ripples of change. They foster a mindset of care and responsibility, which, when multiplied, can have a huge impact. In the end, it's less about having a perfect solution right now, and more about fostering a mindset shift and setting up systems that can work for the long term. As long as we keep having these kinds of honest, reflective conversations, and keep looking for ways to make positive difference, even in small ways, we are contributing to that bigger change. You've already taken a step in the right direction, and you're doing what matters, even if it feels like a small part of a much bigger picture. Keep reflecting, keep engaging, and the pieces will start to fall into place.